I started a virtual assistant business and quickly got booked out with that, which was fantastic. So then that unlocked this whole lifestyle. So that's when I saw the opportunity and I was like, I think this could be packaged up into an online course. Then I started understanding launches and sales funnels. And so once I was able to implement those two things, that's when things really started to pick up.
Welcome to the Paid to Create podcast, where we dig into the secret strategies of successful creators making a lucrative living. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
I just have to tell you about Kartra, the marketing platform that has seriously transformed my business. You know how running a business can be insanely time consuming, right? Well, Kartra has been a game changer for me. It's honestly like having an entire marketing team in my pocket. And what I love most is that it automates all the tedious daily tasks for me, from marketing to sales to even customer experience. I can't believe how much time and energy I've saved since I started using it. And get this. With Kartra, I can create websites, funnels, courses, membership sites, email campaigns, calendars, surveys, you name it. It's made managing my business so much simpler and more affordable. Honestly, I can't recommend Kartra enough. If you're curious, head to paidtocreatepodcast.com/Kartra to start your trial. Trust me, you won't regret it. Welcome to another episode of the Paid to Create podcast. I'm thrilled to introduce our next guest, Louise Henry. Louise is an online entrepreneur and a digital nomad, and the mind behind louisehenry.com. Her mission, helping entrepreneurs understand how to leverage tech so they can save time, automate more, and scale their business with ease. Louise, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
It's a pleasure. I've been watching a ton of your YouTube videos just to kind of get a vibe for like how you present and what you do. And it's like, I'm like inspired and I'm like, oh, wow. She's like, I see why you've done so well. But before we get into where you are now, maybe you can back up and tell us like kind of how you began your journey into this online entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. So when I was in university, I realized I absolutely do not want to take the traditional corporate path. That had become really obvious to me that wasn't going to work. So I decided to start my first business right out of university, which was actually a physical product business. I thought that in order to start a business, you had to create a brand new product that nobody had ever created before. I've since learned that that's not the case at all, and that is not a requirement. So I was doing jewelry, but with that type of business, of course, then I had to deal with inventory, shipping, design, manufacturing, all of these things. And I mean, it was an incredible... Yeah, right. So all of these things, which I had no prior experience in, it was an incredible learning experience. And I picked up so many skills, but I was like, this is not ultimately the type of business that I want to create. And what happened was I went on holiday to Bali. And when I got there, I saw that there were all these young people there just with their laptops, and they were just running these businesses literally from just that. They had no inventory. It was a fully digital business. And I was like, that's so cool. I want to do that. So it sort of opened my eyes to that world instead. And so then I took the skills that I had developed through the jewelry business and turned that into a virtual assistant business. Because I was like, okay, I have some skills now. Like I know how to build a website. I know how to send emails. Like I know social media. Okay, let's see what we can do there. So I started a virtual assistant business and quickly got booked out with that, which was fantastic. So then that unlocked this whole lifestyle. I had actually met my husband in Bali, so I did have the extra incentive of like, okay, I need to go back and move there. I need to move there to go be with him. So I did that. And then, yeah, I too was living that digital nomad lifestyle, which for me was such a dream. It wasn't as common as it is now, like it wasn't as well known. So I just felt like, oh, this is such a dream opportunity. Like when I was growing up, I could not even imagine that being an option. And then from there, after like the virtual assistant world, I discovered the world of online courses. And then I was like, okay, this is sort of the next level after that, where this is a more leveraged model where I can help thousands of people all around the world. I can make really good money and I can continue to travel the world and work from my laptop.
And you can see your boyfriend. Hopefully husband now.
Now husband. Yeah.
There you go. That's great. So who was the first person you did personal assisting for? Like, what was your jobs and stuff?
Yeah. So, well, I had a few different ones, but they were all online coaches, really online coaches or service providers. So that's really what helped so much, because I was seeing behind the scenes of this type of business. So I just feel like that really accelerated things for me. It was just a fast track to understanding things like Kartra and all the tools that you need and how it all works together. That really showed me, okay, this is what you need to know.
I'm definitely not leading the witness, but I figured you were probably going that route.
What's fascinating to me, and I think something that a lot of people, especially new to the digital world, is you had a skill set you had built, right, with the jewelry business, and you leveraged that skill set to begin to create that financial freedom. And through that, you then got an education from working for these people that you wouldn't have got any other way. And you got to see the power of what they were doing. And you mentioned the word leveraged area. What did that mean for you? Because it means different things to different people. So for you, obviously you created a business where you could work for everywhere. So what then was the incentive to shift gears? What does leverage mean? And what were you looking to achieve?
Yeah, I really wanted to be able to expand my business, but without having like 20 calls every single week on my calendar. So I was looking for something that matched up, I would be able to, take my knowledge now, and instead of delivering it one-on-one, I could turn that into a product instead. So that's really what my online courses have allowed me to do, is just package it up and sell that. And then I can sell thousands of copies, and it's not extra work for me every single time I sell an additional copy of the course. So really for me, courses were, just sounded so ideal to me, because I could impact more people. Therefore, there was no cap on my income. All of a sudden, it just completely eliminated any barrier to how much I could make, and to, or based on the hours I had each week. So that was just so exciting to me. I just really like building something where there's like no ceiling to it. That just feels really fun and exciting to me.
Yeah, having money that you can make one call at a time, versus if you put that call into a recording and then now you have unlimited possibilities.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's super interesting. For your first course, did you go the tech route, or like you mentioned you were doing a bunch of stuff? So what was the first course? Was it a success? And how did you market it to an audience?
Yeah. Okay. So my first one was actually on Squarespace, because a lot of the virtual assistant clients just happened to be using Squarespace and asked me about it. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm learning more about it. At the same time, everyone was only recommending WordPress. And I was like, wait, this is so much easier, especially for my client at the time. They were really skilled coaches and, experts in their field, but it's going to be way more complicated for them to build their website that way. So that's when I saw the opportunity, and I was like, I think this could be packaged up into an online course. So I packaged that up into what I called Website That Wows. So this is my first one. I launched it, but I was still learning. So the first time I launched it, I got 0 sales. And I was like, oh no, I think I just spent all this time on this online course. This is a disaster. Like, this was such a mistake. I'm rethinking everything. I think I was in tears as well. But I was like, okay, I'm going to keep going. I've heard other stories like this. I'm going to keep going. I think I sent like 2 emails, right? And so now, knowing a lot more about marketing and sales, you really have to back your product. You have to, really push it a little bit more than 2 emails. So I kept going, and then I started understanding launches and sales funnels. And so once I was able to implement those 2 things, that's when things really started to pick up. So yeah, that same course now, has sold hundreds of thousands of dollars worth, but a rocky, thank you. But yeah, definitely a rocky start. And then from there, I went on to develop 2 other online courses, one on the project management tool Asana, which just took me from like being a total hot mess trying to run my online business to being streamlined and organized. And then another one where I teach people how to create their own online course, how they can make sales in their sleep. And I teach them how to do that all with Kartra. So that was the journey of courses. Yeah.
Did I just, yay, well done. By the way, 2 emails does not a failure make.
Question on that, because a lot of people would have done the launch, sent the 2 emails or whatever they thought. A lot of people spend all this time creating their product. They go live and they have the same result, no sales, but they don't continue. They go, well, I guess it's not work. It's all BS. None of these people are telling the truth, and they go the other way. What gave you the faith to say, okay, it didn't work, but I know it can? Was it the fact that you had seen these other people doing it, or was there something else like driving you internally where you were like, I know it didn't work, but I just got to figure it out?
Yeah, I think I've always been pretty good. I mean, I think it's the entrepreneurial personality of all of us, right? Pretty good at being like, wait, there is a solution here. I don't know what it is yet, but I just have to keep going. Like, I just need to, yeah. And so I think if people do that and just go, okay, wait, I might just be missing like one little thing. And oftentimes it's that,
email.
like, yeah, right? And it's like, I just figured if I kept going, like I had to give it a proper shot. Like, it can't just be one time and then you're going to give up. You got to try like 100 times, and then even then I wouldn't say give up. I'd say get some help. I'd say bring on someone who knows what they're doing to help you.
That's always a good point. In that case, did you have a mentor through this where you were learning this stuff, or was it really like trial and error?
No, so many mentors, honestly. Yeah, so many. I mean, I'm so fortunate that people are packaging up what they know into these, whether it's an online course or whether it's a group program, mastermind, whatever. I've been a part of so many, and they have just helped me so much. I really appreciate someone just peeling back the curtain and showing like, here's exactly what you need to do. Here's all the specifics, because it sounds simple, like, oh, just put something online and sell it. And then really it's not. There's quite a few systems involved here. So yeah, I had a few really phenomenal mentors. Colleen Arneal was one. She introduced me to Kartra, actually. So she was one. Mariah Cause is phenomenal, like total online course expert. She taught me a lot. Alex Beeden came in and taught me how to be a better launcher and what that really meant in the online space.
I love it. Yeah, always invest in yourself and learn new skills, right? Because it pays off dividends. Now, I mean, I would call you a social media powerhouse, but you really seem to shine on YouTube. Did you stumble across that? Kind of what led you to, using YouTube and especially video, right, to grow your brand?
I think because I was like, when I was starting, I really didn't have much of a budget. Like, I was really like, what can I do in terms of marketing? And YouTube just seemed like such a smart idea in terms of doing so many things at once. It shows people what your expertise is. It shows you on video. So there's that personal connection. To me, it just seemed like, for the type of products and the type of business I was building, that YouTube would make sense. And it's proven to be such a smart decision. I didn't really realize at the time, like, just how important it would be. And it's become more important to me over time. And yeah, just really proved to be a really smart strategy that benefits your business long term. Like, videos that I created years ago are still driving leads to my business today. So I just absolutely love it. So now I'm telling everyone, like, get on YouTube. I don't care if you're not that comfortable on video yet. You can go watch my oldest video and see how awkward and uncomfortable I was. Like, just go watch that. It'll make you feel better. But it's been huge because you're leveraging search data. So you're leveraging people that are actively looking for what you do. They're out there right now trying to do something. They're searching for help, and then your video comes up. That's just so powerful. And so really, you're just getting such a hotter lead that is way more likely to turn into a customer, rather than like on social media, where often it's just like random content flying by, and it also doesn't last as long. So the longevity of YouTube videos has proven to be a really great marketing strategy.
So with that, is there anything, obviously you're leveraging search data and then they find your video. So how are you planning out your YouTube content? Because obviously there's a lot of people who create content, put it on YouTube, but they never get any views. They don't get any subscribers. So is there a formula you follow that kind of sets your video up to kind of play with those algorithms and have more success?
Yeah, so I use tools like, there's one called Keywords Everywhere that it's a Chrome extension. I can use it to see just how many times people are searching for a particular term every single month. So that has been really helpful. So I go in, I do my SEO research, and I'm just typing in all different variations that I can think of what would be a YouTube video. It pops up all these different ideas, and I'm just looking for ones that people are actively looking for, So I'm looking for ones that maybe they have a few thousand searches per month. That's great. So I would have people start there. Actually, I would have people start with that and start small. I started with like small little tips and trainings, things that I knew how to do. And it was things that other people were looking for as well. So that's why it totally worked. So I would say it's a combo of that, but obviously, the personal side of things is great as well. So you can round out your channel with like some that's more personal, fun, just things that you want to talk about, but then a lot of the search, the really intentional content. So using a tool like Keywords Everywhere will really help.
Yeah, I love the intention there, because I think that's what's missing from a lot of people's social media is intent, right? They create something, but they don't necessarily why they're creating other than it's what's on their mind at that moment and then moving forward. Obviously, YouTube is a consumption platform. Your viewers are there, they're learning. How do you move them from just a viewer to, say, a subscriber or even a buyer? Because I know you do a lot of affiliate promotions and stuff like that direct from there. So how does that play out strategically?
Yeah. So strategically, what I'm trying to do for the most part is actually get people, once they found me on YouTube, to get off of YouTube.
Capture the lead. Bring them in-house.
Exactly. That's my number one priority is how do I think other people are more focused, on subscribers and views and likes and things like that. I'm focused on how can I get someone from YouTube over to my email list. So what I'm doing is I've set up a free guide or a free training that I will mention at the beginning of my YouTube video and at the end. And I will make it very obvious in the description as well that is the next step. That's where I want you to go. Once you click on that link, then you're going to be led to a landing page that I've made in Kartra. People need to type in their name and email to get access to that thing. They're then on my email list. And that really kicks off the process of then becoming a customer. So I'm really using email marketing, sales funnels, launches. Once they're on my email list, I'm using that to then get the majority of sales in my business. So even affiliate marketing, I'm including all of my affiliate links, in that free guide, in the follow-up email. I'm trying to, really link to that as much as possible. But some people even just click in the description on YouTube, which is great. So I appreciate that. So I put all my affiliate links in my YouTube description as well. And some people click those. But I would say the majority of revenue in my business comes from my email list.
Once they join your email list on Kartra with their name and email, do you have them in an autoresponder?
Yeah.
What would you do then next? Once they're in your email, how do you get them to that next level?
So what I do, the main setup I have right now is I have a free training so they can watch the free training. Then at the end of the free training, I give them a limited time offer. So I'm using Kartra's functionality to be able to do this. So there'll be a limited time offer. For example, if you buy my online course in the next 5 days, then you'll get a certain discount. I've found that people really need some sort of help or incentive to get off the fence, like otherwise they'll just be like, oh yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I'll do that later. And even myself as a buyer, I appreciate like the encouragement, the incentive. That works for me,
I got a nice save folder on Instagram. I see ads, I click through, I go, this looks a good product I need to pick up, but I don't want to have to go through the checkout process right now. I don't necessarily have another 20 minutes. And I never go back. They're there for when I do. But the ones that are like, event-based and there's a deadline or there's a reason to buy right away, those make a difference. And even when on the websites, when they pop, they're like, oh, enter your email to get 10% off. It's like, well, I don't want to purchase right now, so I'm not going to give you my email, right? So I like this formula. And it's crazy because a lot of people listening are like, wait, email still works. And it's really direct response 101, what you're saying, right? They're on a platform and they're a viewer. Right? Now, if they become a subscriber, they're cool. They show a little bit more interest, but we don't necessarily want them to have to pay attention to everything we're releasing. What we want is to move them to a channel, email in this instance, which I still think is one of the best things to build an email list. But once we move them to that channel, now we can have a direct conversation with them. We're not relying on them seeing new video from Louise or it popping up on their feed amongst 1,000 other things. Like now we can have that direct conversation and then you're really just giving them a reason to move forward with what it is they've shown interest in, right? Versus procrastinate any longer, which is what we all do as humans. So I really like that. For those that, with the email, those listening, a lot of people are like, okay, we'll make a video, we'll get an email, and we'll sell a product, right? It's a very fast process in their mind. But I would guess you probably have people who have been on your email list for 6, 8, 12 months who don't purchase and then do, right? Have you seen that? And what do you do to continue to nurture them and, keep them as a hot prospect, so to speak?
Absolutely. Okay. So what I'm doing is when someone first joins my email list, then they're going to get that initial offer. But you're exactly right. Only a small portion of people take me up on that offer. So what happens is when that expires, I'm like, stay tuned, for the next event, whatever exciting thing is happening next. Then they just go on to my regular email list. So that's why I like the nurturing part of this, the continuously showing up, the new YouTube videos, the new email. So I aim to send an email to my list every single week. With YouTube, that's also my goal, but sometimes I'm inconsistent. Okay. But that is also my goal. So at least the email though, absolutely goes out every single week. So we're still building that relationship. I'm still providing a ton of value for free. And basically keeping myself as a business top of mind, even if they haven't purchased. So that will go on. And then what I do to balance this all out is I host launches. So launches have just proven to be absolutely massive. I very much rely on them in the business. And so basically that is a second chance for any of those email subscribers that joined and maybe they weren't ready to jump into the product right away. That's absolutely fine. Then they go onto my email list. They might be there for another 3 months, 6 months. Then they see my next launch event. Exactly. So then they are on my email list for a while and then they'll see that I'm hosting a launch event. So I'll host live events, mostly challenges. I really like challenges. I think they're super fun. I can give people like action steps and things to do and like ways to get involved. I do live Q&As and like just stay on and answer any and all of the questions that are there and just really try and make that event itself as awesome as I possibly can. So we do that. And then at the end of the challenge, I'll present another special offer. And, it might be a little different as well because it's a live launch. So often I'll add on like a few live Q&A calls with me or something like that. And so many people who said no to the initial offer end up purchasing during that launch. So because I have 3 courses, then that means I sort of have this like rotating business. I have people coming in, for my 3 different topics. And then I'm hosting these different launches and I'm rotating in between them. So my next one coming up is all about organization, all about Asana. I just wrapped up one that was all about making an online course and making sales in your sleep. And so I rotate in between those. And so collectively, that creates a really great system where I have my initial offer, I have my email list, I have the nurturing, and then I have the big launch events as well.
So how many launches do you do a year?
About 6.
Every other month.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good
So
cadence.
I've done like such variations of this, honestly. I have like I've tried to figure it out. I've like repeated the same one over and over. But for me, it feels really good to do them more frequently and to rotate in between them. Also, so that there's not too much pressure. When I was trying to do like very limited launches, then I was like so nervous before each one. And it like really mattered how much revenue we would be able to bring in through that launch. So for me, it just feels better to just have these ongoing streams and like things that are happening and more frequent feels better.
Now, they can purchase at any time, but during the launch, you have a special deal, right? Whether that's a special price or additional bonuses, I'm assuming, go from there. Do you have anything on the back end, like post those courses with that, or is it just focused on the courses, and is that the model?
So that's primarily been the model. Earlier this year, I launched a back-end membership for those people that go through my online course, which is called Passive Profit Accelerator. So I launched a back-end membership for that because that transformation specifically of building an online course, of setting up your sales funnel, of launching, like that's quite hard. And I've found that people, once they know the information, like they still want a lot of support in actually making that happen and staying committed to all of these things that we're talking about, right? It's like showing up, creating content, emailing your list, launching. So I created that. It's called Course Club, and people can only join that if they've first been through my online course. And so they understand all these systems, like they've set that up, then they can come for additional support to help scale their business.
Very cool.
What if somebody went to you and said, I want your personal coaching and help starting from the beginning to go through all of your courses? Like, I don't want to have to figure it all out myself.
Mm-hmm. It's not something I currently offer, but I would like maybe consider it. So
the right
not
price.
Something I do now.
Right. For the right person or price. Maybe.
Yeah.
So obviously you've had a lot of clients, students go through your different programs, and you're really helping them move forward in their efforts to mimic what you're living, which is the digital nomad lifestyle or just the financial freedom. Could you kind of share one of your favorite success stories or stories of a client that you've been able to help? Because as an online educator, that's really, the money is great, but really the value we get is from seeing the results of others, right?
It is the best feeling. Like if someone ever says, you've changed my life, I'm like, oh my God, like that is the coolest thing that you could possibly hear. Okay, so yeah, I have a bunch. I've had people that said that we've been able to take them from total overwhelm to like having all these dreams of, I want to launch a podcast, and I want to have a course. And I've gone from just like staying in dream mode to actually making them happen and to like launching, with 20 episodes already created, for example. So that's one of the common things we'll hear from my Asana course. I've also had people, a student just reached out recently and had just done a $42,000 launch. So I was so proud of her for that. What happens a lot is I don't have any strategy that is like, you're going to get results instantly tomorrow, So I just tell people like, trust the process, keep going. A lot of this is all long game strategies, but they do work. And so you just have to see it through. You have to like implement all of the steps. So the student came back and she was like, you totally changed the trajectory of my business. It looks completely different. I just wrapped this 42K launch. I feel so much more confident in what I'm doing. So that was a really cool one that recently landed in my inbox.
Well, yeah, you had to do all of the steps to learn. When I'm looking through what you said about using video and then bringing them in-house and then sending that link to get their email, whatever, it's that you've learned everything and that you're making your students learn. So you're not just handing them the golden keys. They have to do the work too. And then once they've learned, it's like teach a man to fish. Like you're making them successful in the long term. And yeah, when someone comes up to us and says, you've changed my life, or I've done this amazing thing, that's very humbling. And that's to us the best thing we can get from our customers.
Yeah, I think what's interesting, and I'm kind of cluing in on why you've been so successful, is because you're taking those things that most people don't talk about, right? Like when people talk about like creating a course online, most people don't get into the technical side of all of that. And I think there is a lack of understanding of the amount of work it takes to be successful in anything you do, business especially, and digital business. People think because the barrier to entry is $0, right? Like you because you can start with social media and a PayPal account. You don't have to have Kartra or one of these other sites. You should, but you can make money before you ever have any of that. But, you know, I read a lot of old books, and one of the things I realize is like almost every chapter or every sub-chapter could be its own book, because it opens up the next question of, how do I do that? Which then opens up the question, well, how do I do those things? So if you say to someone like, oh, you need to know your customer avatar. Okay, well, how do I build a customer avatar? Okay, well, you need to know like the demographics, the psychographic. Okay, well, how do I figure that out? Okay, when I have that information, like, what does that mean? Well, it means you now know how to communicate with that person. Okay, so how shall I communicate? So saying you need a customer avatar and leaving them with that, they have to go search for those answers. And so as a leader, they might not attribute the results to you because, yes, you're giving them a clue, but they're having to go off on their own journey and probably hire another mentor, invest in another course or book or something like that. So I think that that's one of the things that probably has led to a lot of your success, is you've taken the hardest component to figure it out, which is always the technical side of stuff. It's why all of our products exist, because we were trying to make the process easier every time you launch a website. Oh, we want to have an upsell. Okay, well, we got to program that. It's like, what? So, that's how everything is developed. Things have changed significantly just within the last 5 years, obviously, right? What are some of the biggest challenges you've faced during your time, as an online entrepreneur?
Yeah. Well, being a tech educator, you've just nailed my number one struggle that I'm currently in, is how fast it moves, how fast it changes. And so I constantly feel like I'm just trying to keep up with everything that is happening, and everything is shifting. In terms of challenges, that has been it. That's been, having the strategies, and then having like traffic change, when all the changes with Facebook ads were happening. It's like, when you think like, okay, I've got it all figured out and good, then an element changes and you sort of have to, you have to go back into it again. So yeah, that's been hard. I would say there's been a lot of challenges like that I realized like, okay, now I have to figure something out again, or
reshoot content you shot because things change, or there's a new thing, and it's like, cool, this is better, but oh wait, I now have to go back and read these 3 modules.
We have some amazing content where we tell people to like go use like constant content or 1AWS or one or whatever. I was like, we can't release that anymore. We got to reshoot the whole thing.
So on the flip side of that, really obviously there's been a lot of consistency, things that don't change. What are some of those things? Because I think people listening can say like, technology is always going to change. There's always going to be variables, but what is kind of the core that you've held on to that is the same now as it was then?
Yeah, I think the core is showing up for your people for free, putting out like free, valuable content so that people can get to know you. Like that is really, really important. Having that initial entry point. I think that, whether you're doing that on TikTok or YouTube or whatever, it doesn't really matter. I think that the visibility, the audience growth and nurture, like both of those things, super, super important. Having some sort of direct connection to your customer, which right now we're using an email list. That might change in the future, but for now, email list. So direct connection, showing up, and then understanding people's problems and solving it for them, coming up with solutions. And that's it. So that's why I never like worry, even like, let's say, something completely comes out for organization that is way better or something. I'm not actually worried about it because I'm like, okay, I can figure out a new problem. I can position a solution. So sort of once you do learn these skills, you realize how it can be applied in different ways.
These are the marketing basics that we've all had to learn back in the day. And it comes down to what I say is principles. So you've got in your list of how you do what you do, you've got scarcity, you've got genuine connection and honesty about yourself and what you've learned. You've got these marketing basics down solid. I'm very impressed.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think on that note, what's interesting is if we, look back at what you said, you're currently most of the time putting out one video a week on YouTube, right? Most of the time you're sending one email a week, and then you're doing 6 launches a year, which obviously those are a little bit more intense, more frequent with the emails and things like that. And I've seen like you'll take your videos and you'll put them on the other social media in short form. But when you look at the grand scheme of things, you're not doing 1,001 things. You're doing a few things consistently, and then over time, I wouldn't call it compounding, but it's a snowball. It just continues to grow, and you've seen that, and I assume the business follows suit, right? Like as your YouTube grows, you get more views, like, oh, we got more email subscribers. As you get more email subscribers, we got more people showing up for the launch. As you get more people showing up for the launch, you inevitably sell more products.
Yeah, exactly. It's followed that exact formula. And it's funny, like I think it's simple, but it's not easy, right? So that's what people like often, get confused on, but it is. And I've done so many circles and like trying to figure it out and like breaking things that it's not broken yet I'm breaking it. I'm like, oh my gosh,
we never do
I'm
that.
just
Yeah, I think
right?
That's a real secret. None of us always we want to share a lot. Is it's messy. It's always messy. You're always figuring it out. When you think you got everything together, something inevitably goes wrong, and you kind of have to. You expect that, right? Like as you grow as an entrepreneur, you're like, okay, like what's the next big problem I'm going to have to solve? And like you said, coming up with the solutions becomes the game that we're playing. Here's a little bit of a different question. Being a digital nomad, with the freedom that you have to work anywhere, it also comes with the freedom to control your own schedule, the freedom to... So how do you balance work-life? Because it's often easy when you get that freedom to, not work, right? It's often easy to like get into a bad routine where you put that off and you do that. And obviously... there's certain things that need to be done. So how have you found that journey, and what do you do to manage it? You've mentioned you use Asana to manage projects, but how do you manage the overall, freedom that you have? Because there's really no one telling you do anything, when to do it, other than needing to make the money to continue to live the lifestyle. There's not that much pressure, right?
She might have ADD.
Yeah. No, my husband does though. So yeah, it's really hard when you're in control of the schedule. It sounds
control
100%
schedule.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds 100% good, and then you realize like, oh, this actually comes with its own set of challenges. For me, I've had to be pretty routined, honestly, to get what I want done. So it's really like, and even the digital nomad, I was really living that lifestyle where I was moving around a lot. But then I decided I want a home base. Like I want to, for the majority of the year, yes, I'll travel, but for the majority of the year, I'm now home in Panama, and I have my like set routines. I have my yoga every Tuesday, Thursday, and that keeps me like balanced and keeps me coming in and focused with work. I ended up kind of sticking to a regular schedule, like a regular like 9 to 4 everyday schedule. But I know as an entrepreneur, like if I'm not feeling it that day, I just take it off completely. If I'm like, or even if you're like having a bad day and you need to take it off, awesome. That's like the freedom that comes from this. I'll go to my favorite cafe. Like I keep it interesting for myself, but in order to get it all done and not just like slack off or go to the beach, I've found that I had to adopt a routine, and now it feels really good for me and it just feels pretty natural.
I mean, I like having a banana in a different country every week, but they do taste the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think as you get that freedom, you realize pretty quickly that if you don't have routine, right, and a schedule, that it actually hurts you, not helps you, right? And it's that saying, what discipline equals freedom, right? And that's really what it comes down to. And I've found, as I've had these conversations with lots of different people, same thing. They have a home base, they have pretty routine schedule, they work between here and here. You know, some people it's, you know, certain hours of the day, some people it's blocked. But, you know, they take phone calls on Mondays and then, you know, they have different themes for the days. But at the end of the day, they realize you have to show up pretty much every day. You know, it's okay to take time off, but, you know, work has to get done. And it usually is the first thing they get done so that then they can spend the rest of the day doing those different things. But yeah, having things scheduled on a calendar seems to be every entrepreneur's nightmare until you have nothing to go on the calendar. And then you're like, okay, I actually need to okay, I'm going to write for these 2 hours. I'm going to do this and I'm do that. And it's been the only saving grace for me because, you know, I'm one of those people, if I see stuff on the calendar, I freak out. But then if there's nothing there, I'm like, what do I do? Oh, maybe I'll just go out for lunch and it's a 2 hour, you know. So those are kind of some lessons I've learned. What about yourself?
I love lunch. No, it's the same. So I think when you're looking to avoid your calendar, you're looking to avoid the having to live your life based on somebody else's values. But then once your calendar is clear, you're actually setting your own values, and your own self-discipline is now guiding you. And it's much more powerful and a lot harder to deceive yourself. It's I can't tell myself, you deserve this lunch. You worked really hard, when it's a day of I haven't done much. I'm like, oh, yeah. No lunch today.
Yeah. Well, and it's exactly what you said. Discipline equals freedom. So because I've done that and made it more routine, well, that means I can, totally take days off if needed, or I can, have my evenings completely free to do whatever I want, or, go on extended vacays and stuff like that. You can only do that if you have these systems in place and you've done the work ahead of time and you've scheduled it out and things like that. So
that 4-hour work week did not start out as 4 hours. It was probably 40, 80 hours a week until they got to that success path. And now it's 40 hours.
What advice would you have for someone getting into online entrepreneurship if they're just starting their journey now?
If they're just starting, I would say work on developing your skill set, work on really understanding that. So dive in. Let's say someone is online and okay, I think I want to do something in video. It's okay, become a video editor and just study that, become super good at that thing, and you're going to start to find opportunities within it. So that's ultimately what I did, was just sort of jumped into it, and then all the opportunities started to reveal themselves. So yeah, I think I would do that. I would really study marketing, because you have to market your business. You have to, I do not consider myself a natural marketer at all. These are things I had to learn. Yeah, definitely didn't come naturally to me. I didn't want to mention my product that I had for sale, which is common for a lot of people. So yeah, I think really learn that and start building your profile online. Really think of yourself as a brand and start to build that. And it doesn't have to be perfect. As you've heard from our conversation, it's gonna be messy. It's gonna have many different directions that you're gonna go in. But I think if you can just start showing up there and in one particular area, you'll start to grow, and you'll start to find what your next step is.
What was that point? Like you said, you're not a natural marketer, but I don't think anybody listening to this podcast, or if they went to your YouTube, would think that you're very natural on camera. You're very confident. You come across as someone who has an authoritative tone, but also compassion and loving. So what was the turning point for you? How did you go from someone who, like you said, was nervous even to sell your product because you're not a natural salesman, to someone who's so comfortable, so confident, and who's leading others?
Yeah. I honestly think it's just practice, which is kind of a boring answer, but just showing up and doing it and pushing through those periods. I'd watch the video and be oh, that wasn't very good, but I'm going to publish anyways, because that's the level that I'm at right now. So we're just going to put it out there. and, check that off. We've done that and we're moving on. That has helped. And then also reframing sales. I think I just had some, negative beliefs about sales, as many of us do. And so I learned a lot there that I fully attribute to mentors and just learning to reframe that and realizing like how transformative it actually is for people if they sign up for something, if they commit to something and like really take it seriously versus like just all the free content, that they see online and often that people won't take action on. So that really helped to understand that, sales is a good thing. It is a good thing for you as an entrepreneur. You can do both. You can be helping tons of people and making really good money as well. Like it's not either or, it's both.
Yeah, I always like to say money is kind of the byproduct of the value put out. So everybody says, oh, I want to make this. And it's like, okay, great. Do you understand the value you have to put out there in order to make that income? Like you don't meet many people who are making $1 million plus a year in income who aren't doing that in value or worth, right? And you have to shift your mindset on that sometimes because, what is valuable is not hours for dollars. And you learn that, like that's what created your transition. And now you see that with your clients because you're not there actually walking them through personally. Your courses are doing that, but then they get the same outcome as if you were there. So you see those results and it's like, has that value because let's say, I don't know what you charge for your courses. What's the average price?
Around $1,000.
Yeah. So $1,000 for a course. And I go through that and it allows me to launch my product and I make 100,000 in the first year. Well, that 1,000 is a very minimal investment, right? It's a big ROI. You're not going to get that on the stock exchange, right? You're not going to get that in crypto. So people never think of it like that. And I think it's important for them to think of those things through those lenses. And also that what you said about you looked at it and you weren't happy, but you published anyway. I think that is really, really, really key. You have to, good is good enough, and you have to publish. If that's what you got, that's what you got. But, you were taking notes, what can I do better? But you didn't go back, oh, I got to reshoot this. You said, okay, publish that. Next video I will make. And you probably, every video got slightly better until you got to the point you are now, where I'm sure you don't even need to look at it because you're like, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. So, I left up all of my YouTube videos so people can just go sort them by the oldest and you'll see the progression. And like, great. Yeah, it's definitely just over time. I think I've gotten more comfortable and I imagine that I'm talking to a friend, like, there's a real person on the other side of this. And then that allowed it to feel a lot more natural.
Yeah, and we've had some of those talks about if you did have all this stuff out there for free, that people wouldn't value it as much. When you've put your money out there and you've purchased it, then you're going to put in more of the effort of learning it, paying attention, taking notes, all that stuff. So you see your value. It's easy then to sell your value because you understand what they're going to get and how it's going to benefit them.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Anything you're excited about or things you're looking forward to in the future around the business and what you're doing?
Yeah, so I am using the online business right now. I'm using it to fund like my big dream project, which I've had for a really long time, which was to launch a nonprofit here in Panama. Yeah. Oh. So I'm like, that's really like, yeah, when you ask me about the discipline and stuff, I've had like the big vision for a long time. One of which was to move away from the cold in Canada, move to a tropical place, live on the beach. Yeah.
She's almost lost her accent as good as you, but it comes out on a few words.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That one.
That was good. Yeah, so that was very much huge dream. Like having the beach house, waking up to the ocean every day was like, that kept me motivated for like 10 years. So I got that, which is exciting. Like I'm looking at it right now, which is awesome. But the next dream was to move my little brother, Tim, move him down to Panama to live here and live that, it's a really outdoorsy life, obviously, we're like outdoors all the time and to live that life and to set him up for his future. So that's the next goal. So the nonprofit is for people with autism. It's called Tim's Club. My brother's name is Tim. And it's going to be a specialized day program, and that's where he will go Monday to Friday, along with a lot of other people in the community. And so it's this like a massive project basically that we're building out right now, and so I'm really excited.
That is so cool. Congratulations. That's huge.
Thanks.
That's your whole heart.
Yeah.
Aw.
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect. Louise, where can people go to find more about you and what you're up to?
Super simple, louisehenry.com, Louise Henry on YouTube, and Louise Henry on Instagram.
Yeah. She's everywhere, folks. You can find her. Use Google if you can. Louise, thanks so much for being a guest on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure. I can't wait to talk to you again. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We'll see you on the next episode of the Paid to Create podcast.
I just have to tell you about Kartra, the marketing platform that has seriously transformed my business. You know how running a business can be insanely time consuming, right? Well, Kartra has been a game changer for me. It's honestly like having an entire marketing team in my pocket. And what I love most is that it automates all the tedious daily tasks for me, from marketing to sales to even customer experience. I can't believe how much time and energy I've saved since I started using it. And get this. With Kartra, I can create websites, funnels, courses, membership sites, email campaigns, calendars, surveys, you name it. It's made managing my business so much simpler and more affordable. Honestly, I can't recommend Kartra enough. If you're curious, head to paidtocreatepodcast.com/Kartra to start your trial. Trust me, you won't regret it.